Hi, friends.
Hi, friends.
We're back. It's episode 115 of the Brunch and Judge. Do.
I don't have anything.
Cha.
It's like the higher we get, we're just like, whatever. We're still here.
Anyway, we are your hosts. I'm April.
And I'm Claire.
And I forgot to take my glasses off my face.
I know, I was like...
Those are my computer glasses to help block out blue light. So they're a little bit yellowy. I've been wearing them all day because I've been working.
Those are your blue light glasses.
Those are my blue light glasses.
I know, I was like, are you just like forgoing the contacts today?
No, I would never. I do not look good in my real glasses. These I think are cute.
I know, I was like...
I'm like, I kind of dig
I was going to be like, did you get new ones?
Like cute glasses. That could be cute. But, no.
Right.
No.
I was going to ask.
I need new glasses. So if anyone wants to buy me some new glasses, please feel free.
You're like, I need new
because
glasses.
It's like, I can either buy contacts or I can buy glasses. And I'm like, why am I ever going to buy glasses? What the hell? Okay,
Same.
That's stupid.
I know. I feel like they should let you do that like once, like get both.
Well, yeah, like it should be
like
if you're a contacts wearer, you should still have to replace your glasses every 5 years minimum because like
right,
your vision changes and you know.
I know, like my vision, like I couldn't. My glasses are so old.
Yeah, mine are too.
And it's like, but I still need to like get contacts, and I just haven't.
Yeah.
So it's like basically my glasses are really only good for me to just like
be at home.
Yes, at night.
They are I took out my contacts to go to bed, and I haven't yet put my contacts in this morning glasses. That is literally all they are.
And I can watch TV and like
I can read. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like I really shouldn't probably be driving with them on.
Yeah.
That's
where I am. I mean, it's probably fine. They're not that different. But also I don't because like I no longer have my peripheral vision because I'm so blind that it's just it's safer for me to have contacts.
Yeah, because the last time I went and it was at that point, which now my one eye has caught up with the other eye, so now the prescription is back the same. But at the time it was like, oh, it's a little different. So then they were like, oh, well, this one is this eye. Well, and I handed her and I was like, can you tell me which one is which on this, like when I get them? And she goes, well, first of all, you're blind. And I'm like, okay, thanks.
Yeah,
I know that.
It's like
I appreciate you stating the obvious. So yeah, I get it.
Oh, hey, anyway.
Yeah.
Sidetrack.
We're your blind hosts.
We are your blind hosts who wear contacts because we're blind.
Yes.
And this week we are still talking serial killers.
Yes.
You know I love it. And it is my turn this week, so I am bringing you. Are you ready?
Yes.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Everyone.
Always.
Everyone take a deep breath. Hold it. Ted Bundy.
Yes.
I can't say I love Ted Bundy. That's wrong. That is not.
Right.
That is not what I'm saying.
That's not what you're saying.
Love the Anne Rule, Ted Bundy, bizarre, I'm going to call situation friendship. It's not a situationship.
No.
But like situationally happen to be friends. And like it is the most amazing thing to me. So that's what I'm going to be talking about today. Are you excited?
Quick aside, when I was on the dating websites, somebody who like messaged me had Ted Bundy as their profile picture.
Oh my God.
Like, why do you think people don't know who that is?
Well,
is that why
I bet a lot of people don't know who that is. Not everyone is like us, Claire. They should be, but they're not.
Right. But I was like, that's super cringy. Delete. No, I'm not talking to anybody who has Ted Bundy as their profile picture. I don't care how nice or whatever your message is, which it wasn't. It was cringy. But still, no, delete. Go straight to jail.
100%. 100%.
No.
Okay, so I got all of my information from Wikipedia, all that's interesting, The New Yorker, The Washington Post, Slate, and my random remembrances from when I read The Stranger Beside Me by Anne Rule a long time ago.
I remember when you read that because you were like, "This book, man, this book is like."
let me set the stage for everyone who doesn't know me intimately. 5, 7, however many years, it's 24, 20, like 7 years ago. God, I had a concussion, and it was super shitty and bad. And like I couldn't read anymore for a while. Like I just had a really hard time with it, and so I got into podcasts.
Right.
And really kind of got into the true crime podcast of it all. But then as I was getting better, I started listening to books on audio. So I still couldn't really read. But I remember I decided to listen to Anne Rule's The Stranger Beside Me. And like, this is the middle of summer. I am on like a very extended break because like my brain doesn't work. So I'm laying by my parents' pool, soaking in the sun, listening to The Stranger Beside Me, and I have never had chills the way that I had chills that day. And I was like, the holy fuck. And
Does she read it?
I have no idea who reads it. Honestly.
Okay.
I have no idea.
I gotta say, that's probably creepier listening to it than actually reading it.
So much creepier. Oh my God. Highly recommend. Definitely do it. It's a ride. But anyway, so we're going to just kind of go through who Ted Bundy is, for those of you who don't know. And then I'm going to focus more on Anne Rule. But Ted Bundy, one of the most terrifying and really like one of the first serial killers in America, because the term was coined in the 1970s, which is when he kind of got started. So he was like the first, America's first chance at realizing what the fuck this is.
Right.
So his mother was Eleanor Louise Cowell. His father is unknown. Dun, dun, dun. He was raised by his grandparents, who were ashamed of their daughter's out-of-wedlock pregnancy, and so they raised him as their own child. So for most of his childhood, he believed that his mother was a sister and that his grandparents were his parents.
That's so gross. I'm sorry. That's just...
Uh-huh. Well, and so his grandfather was a piece of shit, and apparently very abusive, obviously, and regularly would beat Ted and his mother. And so eventually she runs away, taking Ted with her to go live with cousins in Tacoma, Washington. That's when Ted was about 5 years old. And while there, she met and married a guy named Johnny Bundy, who formally adopted Ted Bundy, giving him the Bundy last name. I'm sure he's super glad he did that now.
Right.
But what are you going to do? You don't expect a 5-year-old to grow up and be this.
Well, it's hard to say. You don't know what you're doing in that moment. You don't know that the kid you're adopting is going to grow up to be a prolific serial killer.
Right? I mean, Ted did not like his stepdad. He apparently said or told like a girlfriend at some point that he thought his stepfather, quote unquote, wasn't very bright and didn't make much money because he was just a hospital cook. So Ted Bundy was also a dick from the early days, but what are you gonna do?
Right.
So he graduated high school in 1965 and eventually made his way to the University of Washington to study Chinese, which didn't take, and later started studying psychology.
Right. I was like, what?
And started dating a woman named Elizabeth Klopfer. I can't speak words.
Like, kind of like me yesterday.
I know, right? So he really wanted to be a lawyer. Like he had this ideal that he would become a lawyer and like go to like a nice, like kind of maybe not an Ivy League school, but like that experience of like the
right.
And be part of like the upper echelon of people. But he fucked it up on the LSAT, so LOL on him. And so he couldn't get the experience he wanted and ended up in the University of Puget Sound Night Law School, which is no fun at all.
Doesn't sound fun.
So in 1973, he ends up dropping out of law school because it's not what he wanted, which I resonate. I feel that. I also dropped out of law school, so we have something in common, Ted. I, however, did not go on a murderous, crazy spree. I just was like, I don't want to do this, and did something else instead. But
right. You weren't going to night law school either.
No, I had a good LSAT score. I went to a good law school. Ha 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 ha.
Yeah.
Looks to be you, Ted.
You were just like, I don't want to do
like,
this.
This is not what I want. Still happy about that choice.
Right.
So by 1974, he was all sad and bored and lonely. And so that's when the attacks and the murders started. Because apparently it's what you do when you're bored and lonely and sad. Ultimately, he confesses to over 30 murders that he committed in 7 states between 1974 and 1978. That's only 4 years, by the way.
That's nuts.
His true victim total is unknown because this is just what he says. So there's probably more, but we just don't know.
We don't know. Yeah.
His usual technique would involve approaching a female in public and luring her to a vehicle that's in like a more secluded area where he would beat her unconscious, restrain her with handcuffs, and then take her somewhere else where he would sexually assault and murder her. Because, again, Ted Bundy is absolute garbage. I mean, he's dead, so there's that.
Yeah.
So the first person that he attacked was 18-year-old Karen Sparks, who survived the attack, was left in a coma for 10 days, and ended up with permanent disabilities. But he did not murder her. He later murdered Linda Healy, who was his first murder victim, and it was a very similar attack to Karen. Both of them, he broke into like their apartments and attacked them there. But then over the next 5 months, because literally, is he just got nothing to do? Like, it's exhausting.
I mean, obviously, he dropped out of law school.
That's fair.
He has all the time now.
So over the next 5 months, Ted Bundy abducts and murders 5 female college students in the Pacific Northwest. Donna Gail Manson, Susan Elaine Rancourt, Roberta Kathleen Parks, Brenda Carroll Ball, and Georgianne Hawkins. Now, these women he would approach wearing like a cast so that he would look somewhat disabled and would ask them to help him put something in his car, and that's how he would lure them.
And this is one of the reasons why I'm always suspicious of people asking for help.
Yep.
Like, I'm just like,
yep.
Somebody needs to go with me. I'm not gonna just wander off with. Doesn't matter who it is, unless it's like a child who's like, I need you to help me find my mom or something, and it's just like,
and even that after that Criminal Minds episode,
well, no, but I'm talking about just like in the moment. I can call for you. Like, I'm just gonna use my phone in this moment and call. I'm not gonna wander off with you. You know, no, we're not wandering anywhere. I'm not walking with you to a secluded. No, we're not walking anywhere. No. It's like, if you can give me somebody's phone number, I will call them right now, but I'm not going with you.
It's like, you can stay here and the cops can come.
Yes. Yep.
So he murders all these women in the Pacific Northwest, but then he decides, let's go to Utah.
He's like, I'm bored with Washington and Oregon and whatever.
I think he ended up going to a law school there, I think. I didn't write any of this down because this is literally just like highlights Ted Bundy and then moving on.
Yes.
So in Utah, while he's living there, he, of course, continued to rape and murder young women, including a hitchhiker in Idaho and 4 teenage girls in Utah named Nancy Wilcox, Melissa Smith, Laura Aim, and Debbie Kent. He then goes to Colorado for a bit, where he actually gets identified by one of the women he had tried to abduct and failed. And so she was able to recognize him and point him out. Nice. So he went to jail. But then he escaped.
Right.
So this instance, he jumps out of the second floor window of like the courthouse, which is the library or whatever.
Okay, that's what I was gonna be like. Is this where he jumps out the library window or something? Yeah.
And
okay.
he hits the ground running, like he's hurt a bit, but he goes and disappears into the trees before anyone realized he was gone. But he was caught 6 days later because he just was not prepared for this. Like he wasn't good. So, caught, put back in jail. But then everyone was like, well, that's good. He's fine. We're going to keep a good eye on this guy.
Right.
And so 6 months later, he escapes again. And this is the one, like, this is, like, next level. This is, like, Shawshank level escape. Because he realizes his cell is right below the living quarters of like the chief jailer, because at that point they lived on campus, on the premises, like, whatever.
Right.
And that there was a crawl space that he could potentially use to get into that area. So he trades with another inmate to get a hacksaw. And while his cellmates are all like exercising or whatever, he's working away at the ceiling, scraping away layer after layer of plaster. Why is no one paying any attention to this guy, right?
I know. You think they would be after what just happened? Like he's already escaped once.
Well, and like, so the crawl space is very small, like very small. So he intentionally like cuts back food so that he will lose weight so that he can fit in and no one is paying attention, guys. Ugh. So this time he did plan ahead, and so when he escaped, he had some money that he had kind of smuggled with him because his then girlfriend Carol Ann Boone was helping, of course. And so he had some money, he gets out, he steals a car and goes to Florida, where he starts murdering 2 weeks later because, my God, he's just like, take a break.
Right.
Like, dude. And that is when he does the horrific and breaks into the Chi Omega sorority house at Florida State University. Uh-huh. And in the span of 15 minutes, manages to assault and kill Margaret Bowman and Lisa Levy, bludgeoning them to death with firewood and strangling them with their stockings. Like, it's horrible. He also assaulted Kathy Kleiner and Karen Chandler, who both suffered such horrific injuries, like broken jaw, missing teeth. Like, I mean, he beat the crap out of them. From there, he breaks into the apartment of Cheryl Thomas and beats her so badly that she loses her hearing permanently. And he does manage to get away, and on February the 8th, he abducts 12-year-old Kimberly Diane Leach from her middle school, and murders her, concealing her body on a pig farm. So, like, he just couldn't stop himself. He was eventually caught, tried, which was a whole bananas affair that I swear to you. Oh my God,
that's ridiculous.
Because I swear, eventually I will come back and talk about Bundy in detail of all of his horrors and do like the deep dive into the bizarre bonkersness that is the entire story of Ted Bundy. But I want to focus on Enroll. And so that's where we're going to go next. But just so you know, he was convicted. He was executed by the electric chair on January 24th of 1989. So you can at least sleep better knowing that he's not in the world.
Right.
Okay, so Ann Rule. Now, you may or may not know Ann Rule. She is a very well-known writer in the true crime section of books. And in 1968, she was a correspondent for a magazine called True Detective, in which she would write like the very lurid tabloidy-ish accounts of like true crime stories that happened in the Pacific Northwest. And she had a lot of really great connections because she was a former police officer that had to leave, I think, because ironically, Claire, she failed a vision test.
What?
So I guess you had to have perfect vision to be a cop. you couldn't have glasses or contacts in the 70s. Or maybe just women couldn't. I don't know. You know how things were.
Wow.
But so...
That's funny that we were talking about that.
I know. I was like, oh, yeah. But so she, you know, former police officer. She has 4 kids. Her marriage is going down the tubes. She gets a divorce during this time that she's doing this. And she writes like 2 10,000-word stories a week for like 13 years. Like she was making her living doing this. She, at that time, published primarily under male pseudonyms. A name, Andy Stack, she used a lot. And, you know, because at the times, people, of course, didn't know women could, you know, write or know things about true crime. So,
right.
It was a very masculine-dominated field. Like, mostly the people who read true crime at that time were men, which is weird.
Right.
So, in 1971, she is still writing, and she's, you know, doing the whole mothery thing, but decides that she wants to start volunteering for a suicide hotline one night a week. And her volunteer schedule aligned frequently with another volunteer, 24-year-old college student Ted Bundy. So
he volunteered at the hotline?
Yes.
I don't think I realized that's how they met.
Suicide hotline.
I don't think I realized that's how they met.
I know. It's so bizarre. It is such a bizarre story. So they often would like help each other out. So, and got to be pretty good friends. But if someone was calling and they believed that person was truly a danger to themselves, like they were gonna make some steps to unaliving themselves, they would have the other like trace the call, figure out where it's coming from in order to have emergency services get there. Gotcha. And so they
do like wellness check and like go and actually try to stop them. Gotcha.
And so like they had become pretty close. Like they weren't necessarily like best friends or anything, but they were like work friends. Like they talked a lot. They talked a lot together at this volunteer thing. They had like lunches together, etc. You know, normal things. And to the point, they were close enough that Ted told Anne about his illegitimate birth, how he grew up with his grandmother pretending to be his mother and his mom pretending to be his sister.
Oh, wow.
And that he apparently didn't know about any of that until he had gone back to the East Coast to visit when he was like an older teenager or young adult. So like, even after his mom had taken him as a kid, he still thought that was his sister. He's like, oh, okay, interesting. He also talked with her a lot about his plans to try and win back his girlfriend. If you recall that he was dating when he was in Washington, because she was not impressed with his, wallet is probably the right word. Like he wasn't prestigious enough and wasn't going to succeed enough, I think, to keep her interest. Right. And so he hated that. And at Christmas one year, Bundy actually sent Anne a Christmas card in which he put a synopsis of her favorite O. Henry story, The Gift of the Magi. And it's weird because he made references in the synopsis about the long hair, if you know The Gift of the Magi.
Yes.
And it's weird because Bundy really preferred victims with long brown hair parted in the middle. Just like me. Thank God he's dead.
Indeed.
So 1974 comes around, and Anne has been asked to write a book about the currently unsolved murders of young women in Washington. Now, we know now it's Ted Bundy. She has no idea that it's her friend Ted who ultimately gets accused, convicted, and we all know he did it of these murders. So It's like the spring and summer of 1974, and the police are in a panic in the Pacific Northwest because young women at colleges across Washington and Oregon are disappearing at alarming rates, and no one has any idea what's going on, or if they're connected, if they're not connected. Because remember, in just 6 months, 6 women have been abducted. They're just gone. And so panic reaches a fever pitch because that summer, 2 women, Janice Ann Ott and Denise Mary Nosland, disappear in broad daylight from a very crowded beach at Lake Sammamish State Park. So it's like a hot weekend. Everybody's there. There's lots of people around. And these 2 women, they don't know each other. They separately disappear from the same place. And there were people who remembered seeing a guy in a cast talking to at least, one of the women or both of them or whatever, and remembered that he had been going around trying to get people to help him do something and had said his name was Ted. And so at the time, authorities thought probably not his real name, because what idiot uses their real name?
Yeah, exactly.
But they released that information to the public along with a sketch that witnesses helped put together. They also were able to say that they had seen his car, a brown Volkswagen Beetle. So this sketch is going around. Like, it's huge news. Everybody knows.
Yes.
And Anne sees the sketch, hears that this person is calling himself Ted, and she's like, it kind of looks like my friend Ted. And so she finds herself thinking about it enough that she finally contacts someone that she knows in the Seattle Homicide Squad, and says, hey, there's this guy I know named Ted Bundy. He matches the description, but he doesn't have a car. And it's like, I don't really think it's him, but I feel like I have to say this, I have to call.
Right. I feel like I just need to do my due diligence, let you know. Yeah.
And so she is incredibly surprised to find out that Ted does have a car registered to him.
No.
And that it is, in fact, a 1968 VW Bug. A bronze 1968
surprise
VW Bug. The exact model they're looking for. And so she's like, oh, because she thought Ted didn't have a car. She had no idea he had a car. But, she's just like, well, I don't want my name to be attached to it. I don't want to know that I did this, because she feels bad. She doesn't think it's him. And so she's assured that her tip will be kept anonymous, be passed on to the county. And she forgets all about it because at the time, she says, lots of people drove VWs. Like, it was super popular.
Yeah.
But what she didn't know is that 3 other people had contacted the police to suggest Ted Bundy after that description was released, including the ex-girlfriend, another close friend, and a psychology professor. Because I know that a psychology professor had his number in class. Like, there's something wrong with this guy.
Like,
there's something not right here.
Like, he's suspicious. We keep my eye on that one.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't right.
But true to the 1970s mentality and the reality that we only believed certain kinds of people could be murderers, they dismissed Ted Bundy as a suspect because he was a clean-cut law student with no criminal record. Like, he didn't fit the profile. He was so nice and clean-cut. But on top of that,
he just talked his way right out of it.
But then on top of that, what is bananas to me is that like I said, there were witnesses who saw him at Sammamish Lake. And they had like 8 different people look at a picture of Ted Bundy.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, that's not him. Not one of them identified him as the guy that they saw.
Really?
Yes.
Shut up.
I
That's
swear to
weird.
God. And I think it's because he did like the weird brush my hair a different way. Like he could just change how he looked.
Oh, yeah.
But like, what? No one identified him? That's insane.
That is nuts. And you would think that like brushing your hair a different way would like change your appearance that much.
Well, and also let it be a reminder that eyewitness testimony is trash. Because like none of these people recognized him. And it was absolutely him. No question.
That's wild.
So a whole year goes by. It's 1975 now. And Ted reaches out. Anne and Ted haven't really talked to each other much. He's in Utah at this point, I think.
Right.
And Ted reaches out to Anne trying to find out why his law school records have been subpoenaed, because he knows she has contacts in the police department because they're friends. Like she knows. He knows. And so she contacts one of her people because, you know, she's also working on the book, so she knows all the people. And finds out that Ted Bundy is just one of 1,200 people that are being checked out. And so she passes that info back to Ted. And he's like, I think they have some kind of wild idea that I'm connected with some of these cases up in Washington. And then he says to her, everything's going to turn out all right, but if it doesn't, you'll be reading about me in the papers. Weird. And so, like, at first...
That was a weird thing to say.
That was weird. So at first, like, she still believed in Ted's innocence. And, like, even though she gave that tip, she never really believed it was him. Because, remember, her entire experience with Ted is him helping save lives. Like, he's helping save lives with a suicide hotline and, like, gives a damn. So it makes no sense.
Why he'd be going out killing people. Yeah.
So, like, in the midst of him getting arrested and getting out on bail, because he initially was arrested for, like, the kidnappings before they could get him in for murders. Like, there's a whole... So, like, she meets with him. She has lunch with them. Like, he talk. Like, they're still... And that's what is so great about her book is, like, you can feel her, like, back and forth, like, it can't be Ted. It's like, but is it Ted? Did he do this? Like, it can't be this guy I know. And that's just the most authentic true crime story to me, because that's how people feel. Right. It's always like, oh, my dad would never. And they're like, well, actually, your dad is BTK. So he did.
Yes.
Ugh. So, Anne Rule, amazing, as we all know. But she ends up writing The Stranger Beside Me. Now, this is a book that she had started writing before she knew it was Ted, that she was researching and getting information on while considering it might be Ted, that she was still working on when he was escaping, that she was still, like, having some back and forth with the entire time all this is happening, and he's still killing people. Because, like, by the time we get to Florida, like, he's very obviously just, like, killing people. Like, it's...
Yeah.
And she still struggles with it. And that is such an amazing part of the book that's not part of any other book I've read, really. Because the happenstance of it is, like, what are the odds that you, as a writer, are asked to write something, and it turns out to be somebody that you know, and not just kind of know, but know well enough that he was an illegitimate child and like...
Yeah, like you worked with him for some period of time.
You know some of his dark family secrets?
Yeah. Like he shared these personal things with you.
And for a while when they were talking back and forth, there was some conversation about him potentially writing some chapters of the book, like with her. And I was like, I'm so glad he didn't, just because I don't think I could handle that now as a person.
Right.
But so The Stranger Beside Me was huge when it came out, obviously, because everybody in America knew Ted Bundy by the time this was all said and done.
Right.
Like, he was national news forever and ever. And so she ends up writing another 20 nonfiction true crime books, including The Lust Killer, The I-5 Killer, The Green River Running Red, The Real Story of the Green River Killer, America's Deadliest Serial Murderer. It's a big, long title.
Yes, it is. And I was like, that's all one book? What?
It's all one book. Green River Running Red, The Real Story of the Green River Killer, America's Deadliest Serial Murderer.
Good Lord.
And, like, she has always, because she had a police background, like, she's always really gone deep into the detective aspects of a case. But because Ted Bundy was a friend and she had so much knowledge, like, she gets a lot more psychological about, like, him and his upbringing and how different things may or may not have influenced or whatever. It's like, this is the path that got him to this place. And that was something that didn't really exist yet. So she was the first one to kind of do that and completely changed true crime as a genre. And so, as you know, it's now mostly women who read true crime.
Right.
So, let's see. Though... So lots of other authors ended up following her lead, and true crime became less of a guy thing, more of a chick thing. And it became more about the mind of the killer and how they got to this place, as opposed to just cops and robbers and this and this and gunfire and blah, 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 blah. But what is incredibly eye-opening, frustrating, and irritating is that Anne Rule, who died in 2016, I think, before her death, her 2 adult sons were charged with theft, forgery, and domestic violence because they were abusing and exploiting their elderly mother to get money from her. So, like, after she spent most of her career writing about, these other women who came, like, face to face with these horrific monsters and, like, betrayed, like, their trust or whatever, she too experienced that herself with her own children.
Oh my God.
And I'm like,
I did not know that.
I didn't either until I, read this. But,
right.
And I was like, fuck. Like, damn.
Like, that sucks, man.
Right? But that is the story of Anne Rule and Ted Bundy. Ted Bundy being awful, Anne Rule being amazing. She's kind of a badass woman, but yeah. Also, some badass some bad shit was going down in her life too, but
Right.
But again, like, highly, highly recommend reading The Stranger Beside Me. Audiobook will fuck with your mind, but worth it. But, like, I don't know.
Oh my gosh.
I know. That is Ted Bundy and his love to murder.
Wow. That's nuts.
Right?
Since we're talking about serial killers, I gotta tell you, a text from from one of my friends today who's a teacher that said that she had to tell one of her 3rd graders today to stop telling everybody that she was Jeffrey Dahmer because she ate her twin in utero.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Jeffrey
I was like,
Dahmer.
Stop it. I snorted. I was like, I can't with that. You had to tell a 3rd grader to stop telling the class that she was Jeffrey Dahmer because she ate her twin in utero.
Like, where did they even come up with this?
I don't know. I'm like, that's a 9-year-old. Oh my God.
Someone needs to have a conversation with the parents to be like, look, like, I'm not judging you, but also, like, what the hell is happening here?
I need to know.
I mean,
questions.
To be fair, if I had a child, they would probably say crap like that because I'm always watching Dateline.
I know.
And like Spencer comes in and he'll be like, my God, I've been gone for 5 minutes. You already turned on Dateline? I'm like, yeah. It's my background noise.
I know. It's like, even when I'm like sleepy or whatever, and it's just, that's like my go-to, man. It's like,
I mean, I recognize
turn on
that,
some Dateline and go to sleep.
I recognize how fucked up it is. Like, I 100% do, because, like, because then I also am like insane about making sure that doors are locked and windows are locked and blah blah blah. And Spencer's like, if you just stopped watching it, and I'm like, no, I watch it to remind myself why I lock the doors.
Right. But course, I feel like there were so many things that even as a child that have happened to me that's like, I would do that anyway.
Same.
Like, it's not, I remember when that one guy was, he was hopping on trains. Like, riding trains. And so there was a train track right in front of my grandmother's house. And we would go visit my grandmother. And I remember like kind of semi freaking out being at her house because thinking like, oh my God, there's a train track. Literally, it was like her house, yard, road, train track. I remember thinking like, what's this guy like just hops off the train track and like comes and kills us when we're at her house. I remember thinking that. Like, it's stuff like that. I'm constantly like freaking out about junk like that because he's like the bed's like right next to the window and it's like,
Yeah. Well, I had the house that we lived in White Salmon. I don't live there now, so I can talk about it. Like, none of the windows had locks. None of them. They were all like broken off because like, it was a whole thing. And like, it was fine. I was fine when Spencer was there, no big deal. But like the couple of times that he would be gone out of town or whatever, I would put like things in because they were like slide open to the side. Oh, yeah. I would put stuff in it so that they couldn't slide. It's just like, what do you think's gonna happen? I was like, look, this is the only way I'm gonna be able to sleep at night. Okay, so this is what we're doing.
Right? And just the other day, I was like here at my house by myself. It was like on the cusp of being dark. It's like dusk. I'm watching TV and I hear this noise at my back window. Like, what the fuck? I'm like, and then I hear it again. I'm like, oh my God, is somebody trying to get in my house?
Yes.
And so I get up and I'm like, kind of like hunched down, like trying, like looking in my chair, and I'm like peeking around. It was a fucking bird.
Oh,
like pecking at the window, and I was like, okay, I know that's like, I was freaking out. I was like, am I gonna like bolt out the door? Is somebody literally like trying to get in my house right now? It was a bird. Like, I was like sitting on the windowsill, like, I was like, what is this? That's the first time that's ever happened. Freaked me out though, because I was like, what is this noise? I realized I was just like, I don't like this. But it's when you're by yourself, it is worse.
It is.
I
agree.
Is worse. It's worse. I concur. It's worse.
All right. Well, on that note, Claire.
Yes.
What are you judging this week?
Oh, what do I want to judge? I don't know. There's so many things.
The general state of the world. Let me just.
Fair.
Everything's on fire.
It really is. It's just like I saw a thing that you were talking about Trump and the diapers. And I sent it to Mom and she was like, is this real?
I know, like, I don't know, yes, but like it's not real, but it may not be like 100% real. So I don't know. Like Trump
also there are
doing
images of people who are like Trump and diaper, like women wear diapers, like
right? I'm like, so there are people that are like embracing that it is real, but I don't know if it's real. Either way, it's hilarious.
I'm like, what is happening? I don't know. Oh, anyway, Oh, okay. I don't know why I get Cosmopolitan.
Because
It
why
just
not?
starts showing it. I know. It just started showing up in my mailbox. I don't
Okay.
know. Anyway, it had this article in it about people cutting off toxic family members, specifically parents.
Yeah.
Like adult children.
Yeah.
Cutting off toxic parents, and how a lot of millennials and Gen Zers have started doing that now. And
good.
Boomers are like,
Boomer's gonna boom. I understand.
Yes. Boomers are gonna boom.
They're gonna boom.
Yeah. But it's one of those things where it's like now, millennials and Gen Zers are kind of like, we're not gonna put up with your shitty behavior
No, like we don't have to anymore.
Just because we're related to you. And I'm kind of here for this. And I wish I have so many friends that, and you and I've kind of talked about this. You and I kind of like, and I've got a couple other people in my life. We kind of won the parent lottery.
Yeah. It's like, my parents care about me.
Yes.
Try really hard to understand me and support me, and authentically are decently good people. So.
Right. And I mean, yes, they've made mistakes.
Because no parent is perfect. They all fail somehow.
But I feel like in their mistakes, like they did it out of love. It wasn't. Right. I don't feel like it was they were trying to further their own agenda, or they were trying to correct me, to make me a better person, whether that was the right or wrong way to do it, is up for debate. but you know what I'm saying? Like,
yes, I do. I feel that.
you know what I'm saying.
I 100% do. Yes.
But like you and I have talked about this, but I have so many friends that it's just like I sit back and I'm just like, oh my God, like that's how your parents treat you. Shit.
Yeah.
I don't know how to, it's hard for me to sit back and watch that, because it's like, I know how my parents not just treated, but still treat me as an adult, and to watch these other people who are my friends, their parents treat them as an adult. I'm just like, that's not right.
Yeah.
And I know it's easy for me to sit back and say, just
cut them out.
Cut them off.
Cut them off. Yeah.
Yeah. Just fucking just like drop that like a hot potato, because my parents aren't like that. I know it's easy for me to sit back and say that.
I also feel like there is some element of temperament and personality to it, because Mom and I randomly had a conversation yesterday. We're fine. But in which we were talking about like people and assholes or whatever, and it's like, you just gotta come up, and Mom said, you really like hating people, don't you? And I was like, yeah, it's one of my preferred emotions. If I can focus on like a hate, and I was like, I'm a fan of burning bridges and cutting ties. I mean, like, obviously not all, but like I don't feel the need to hold on to something that's hurting me. So, but I don't know. Because I have said to Mom, I was like, watch it, Mom, I'm going to cut you off, and then you're going to have to take care of yourself in your old age.
I mean, but I honestly feel like yeah, I know. I honestly feel that like as I've gotten older, like I'm just kind of like people in my life that I'm just kind of like, yeah, no, I'm not here for that drama. No, I don't need that negativity in my life. No, thank you. And I know, some people are like, but it's my, it's like, but it's my mom, or
I get
it's my this, or my dad, or it's my whatever sibling, yada, yada. They're my family. And it's like, but is it worth your mental health? I know
but
it's
hard. Also a difference between being like, this is my mom, my sister, my whatever, and keeping them in your life in doses, and the big family gatherings or whatever that are not your favorite, but you're like, I still care about them and I want to be part of it, but like maybe not the everyday part of your life. Let the everyday part go.
Yeah. Like, you don't have to talk to them every day. You don't have
sure
to text
don't.
them every
No,
day.
I don't talk to mine every day.
It's like, but it was just, I was reading this article and I'm like, yeah. But some of these people like legit cut them off.
Yeah.
Like, no contact.
Well,
like, it's like they're that bad,
And I 100% support that. If that helps you, I don't care what the story is. If it makes you feel better and you feel like you have more control of your life and you're happier, you do you. It's absolutely none of my fucking business.
Because I feel like when I was younger, I probably would have been more of a, well, that's your mom. Why were you, how can you do that? That's your mom. And now I'd be like, you do you, man.
You shank that bitch.
Yeah. Like, it's like, if your mom
it's like,
your mom's gonna treat you like that, then
like,
sayonara,
it's
man.
all
Like,
it sucks here. Everything here sucks. So, like, if you can do anything to make it less sucky, then you do
exactly.
That.
Yeah. You get anything to get like just a smidge more peace of mind, just a smidge more, better, like a little bit better, piece of mental health for you to make it better.
And here's a good time.
That.
Everyone should try therapy, even if you don't think you need therapy. It sometimes is a good way to just kind of structure your thought processes and make sure you're not letting toxic people into your life. But also,
April has rediscovered therapy.
I have. It's been a high and a low experience, but that's how it's supposed to be. So
this is your weekly therapy PSA.
Yes, this is my weekly therapy PSA. Because it's good. It's good for you, and it helps you realize things that maybe you didn't realize before. Like, you should cut out your toxic family or something. Not me. Mine's fine. I may have a lot of problems, but my family currently is not toxic. I can't say they'll always be untoxic, but right now, we're doing all right.
But it was just, I know that, like, from my friends recently, like, sometimes I feel like I'm one of the only ones who doesn't have toxic family. And I'm just kind of like, when they sit there and they bitch about their toxic family, and I'm like, I have nothing to contribute to this conversation besides I'm sorry. That's really all I can say is like, I'm sorry.
I never imagined as a kid that I would grow up to be an adult that's like, but wait, you...
Right.
Like, I like seeing my family. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's stress there at times, and we probably don't agree on everything 100%, but, like, we authentically like each other and enjoy spending time together. And I never imagined that would be, like, a weird thing.
And it's like, I enjoy going to family reunions.
No, I hate that garbage, but...
Yeah, I know. But, like,
I like my little family, though. We're good.
Yeah. But it's like, I don't mind going to our family reunions, like mom or dad's, because I don't see them often and they're fine. Like, it's not,
I have been to a Claire family reunion.
She has. She has.
And so, Claire, Claire basically is family, so...
Yeah.
Like, my whole family claims her, so she gets it.
It's true.
We get it. It's good. Yeah.
But yeah, I'm here to be like in solidarity with anybody who feels like you need to cut off your family. Like she said, boomers are gonna boom. But...
Boomers are gonna boom. Okay, like some of them are great, but some of them, man, some of them are why we call them boomers.
Right. But it was just how, like, millennials and Gen Zers are just like, we're not, we're adults now. We don't have to put up with your shitty attitude.
And I think
I agree with that, because
I think it's 100% that, like, we really are the first generation to be given the choice about kids. Like, we as women have gotten to have careers or be married or not be married or have kids or not have kids. Like, we've had a lot more choices. And so we're not stuck in the same place with the same people our whole lives and don't have a choice that we're surrounded by our family. So I applaud it. I think that's great because...
And I think also a lot of it has to do with mental health is becoming more
It's just part of healthcare now.
Well, it's getting pushed more to the forefront. Like it is becoming more, because before it was like mental health is meh, it's not really healthcare. Mental health is whatever.
Yeah.
Like the only time mental health care ever came up is if you'd had like a serious trauma.
Right.
Or you had like some kind of like big something where you could really have some PTSD, or if for a while there, it was like, if you've been in war or something, had some kind of like assault or something, like some big something like that. But now it's like, no, like
it's
probably need it just for everyday life.
For everyday life, because it's a shit show down here, guys. It's a shit show.
Yeah. And I think that's part of it too, is the fact that they're discovering, a lot of more millennials and Gen Zers are taking mental health seriously, and they are going to therapy, and they're probably finding out from their therapist, like, no, that's not a healthy situation. That's not a healthy relationship. I think people are discovering more about boundaries.
Speaking of.
Ooh. Boundaries?
Yes.
Uh-oh.
Guess what April's judging this week?
Ooh, okay. It's a segue. Segue.
Segoo.
Okay, segue. Yes. Segue into April's judge. Yes.
So Claire already knows this because I texted her early, but I know you hate it. I'm sorry. Everybody who hates this millennial thing, just suck it up. But I was today years old.
Yes.
I get it. But like sometimes it's all there is. I was today years old. After having grown up in the goddamn church and having more Bible study than like most people would ever have in their lives, because church doors open, we're there.
Both of us, yes.
But I was today years old.
Because she texted me and told me, and I was like, say what?
When I learned that, so they're like, the Bible is a shit show. It's all this like God is mad and kill and death or whatever. The book of Ruth. Right? Yes. Because it's Ruth. Duh. But like just what? Like a moment of panic, like wait. But like the book of Ruth was always this like sweet like moment of life story that feels so good.
Because it was like her and her mother-in-law were like, because her husband died, and it's like, oh, she's a woman. Nobody loves her, blah blah blah.
And they're like getting like the remnants of the wheat is how they're surviving, because they're super poor and they have no men because all the men are dead or whatever.
Yeah, because her husband died, and so the husband's not there to take care of her or his mom, because that's how life was back then. And so they're just wandering around behind the people who are collecting the wheat. They're just like getting the little pieces,
the stuff that's left over.
Until Boaz comes along.
Yes. And so like there's this whole, and I have forgotten most of it. Claire will probably help me remember it. I'm sorry, everyone, that you did not want a Bible lesson today. You're getting one. So there's this whole like,
it's relevant to this judge. Trust me.
It's this whole like kinsman redeemer thing where like Boaz
is related to them
and can take Ruth on as like his wife and and basically rescue her from her plight, and does, and it's all this like love and God and blah 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 garbage.
It's like, oh, and they love each other,
and you're just like,
it could have been a really because it could have been a bad situation.
Yeah, I mean, he could have been
because you know how things were back then. Women were shit.
Like today I was listening to a random YouTube podcast channel thing, and I find out that somehow because I took a lot of religion Bible classes in college because I'm fascinated, and I learned a lot of stuff, but I did not learn that when they talk about Ruth uncovering Boaz's feet, which she does, that's how they sort of, they're like cute, meet cute or whatever. I don't know. When he's asleep, that actually means basically she had sex with him. They're not married. They've not really met. And she just comes in while he's asleep and has sex with him so that he then feels obligated to marry her. Like, he didn't have to, but like he's not a dickwad, so he did. And I'm like, wait, you're telling me that this wholesome, beautiful story in which this family is saved is actually she raped him? Because I think that's what you're telling me right now. Like, I mean, he's asleep.
And I'm like, what kind of euphemism is uncovering feet? That means like, sex? What? I was like, oh my God.
This was never mentioned in any of my Bible study classes. I'm like, oh my God.
Where did they get this from? That's what I want to know.
You know, I don't know, but he is someone who, like, he is an atheist, but he does, I haven't started listening to it, but he does something called, like, secular Bible study. So, like, he's taking, like, the real information. And this particular one, he was talking about this woman who has a channel that talks about how sometimes she, in her Bible study, loses focus or kind of misses it out. And so the thing she likes to do is zoom out so she can understand the big picture. And he's like, that's correct. You should zoom out to understand the big picture. And then she goes talking about blah, blah, blah. And he's like, that's wrong. That's not what's happening here. And you're like,
right.
And he breaks it down to like, so Naomi had 2 sons and they had to leave, I guess, Israel or wherever they happen to be because of famine. And so they end up going to Moab, and both of her sons marry Moab women, which is bad. You're not supposed to do that. So, like, why did God give them famine in order for them to have to leave? And now they've married these foreign women that are wrong and bad. And then they die. And then Ruth ends up coming back with Naomi to wherever. She doesn't have to, but she kind of has to because that's what happens when you're married. But, like, she is Moab. So, like, Boaz is not supposed to be hanging out with her and marrying her either. So I'm over here being like, wait a minute, what the fuck is even happening? I learned none of this. None of this stuff was brought up. And then it's like, well, in the uncovering, and he's like, some people will try and say that she uncovered his feet to suggest to him that she would be willing to have sex with him and that he was a good guy and said, no, let's get married. But he says, that is probably not what happened. And I'm like, you're not wrong. It's probably not what happened. So he's like, probably she, while he was asleep, climbed on top and, got going. And I'm like, well, hell, there goes my warm, fuzzy Bible story from childhood.
You're like, oh my gosh.
So that's my judge, is that, I've learned many things that weren't completely accurate, obviously, as I no longer identify as anything in particular, but I was not ready to find that uncovering feet meant sex, that it was a euphemism for sex.
No, same. I'm just, yeah. Speaking of boundaries.
Speaking of boundaries. It was like, speaking of boundaries, let's talk about the boundary, because damn.
Right. Yeah, here we go.
Oh dear. We've gone digging.
Yeah.
Okay.
What did it say? Because it was like, it said something like, you know how it says it like in the thing?
Oh,
and then you click on it, and you can't fucking find it.
It's like, here's a highlight, but I'm not going to show you where it is.
Right. To cover one's feet was a euphemism referring to when a man's robe covered his feet as he squatted to go to the bathroom, thereby uncovering his privates. So basically to uncover his feet
is to like uncover his privates, because and I'm like, the fucking hell. Bizarre.
Yeah.
And on that fun note, Claire,
yes,
it must be time for Tarot Time with April. Spooky.
Geez.
Although nothing could be more spooky than that. I'm sorry.
I know.
I'm just like,
oh my God.
Jesus. Yeah.
That's wild.
So, the things I learned, I am now considering, because that was not secular Bible study. That was some other segment that he does. And so now I'm going to have to go to secular Bible study and find out what other things I don't know. And be like, damn.
And when I tell my mother that, she's going to like berate me and be like, what the? No. She's going to be like, where did you hear that?
Don't you dare throw my name in that pot, Claire. Don't you dare throw my name. Your parents already think I'm a heathen. I mean, I am, but like,
Oh my God.
Anyway, okay. What shall we ask the universe this time?
Oh my god. I don't know.
Let's see.
Sorry, I just. Oh my god. Just think of all the times you'd be like, "Oh, did you uncover his feet?" From now on.
I know. I'm gonna be like, I'm gonna start saying that and be like, "Well, I uncovered Spencer's feet last night." Yeah. Just to see reactions, to be like,
I can't.
To see my mom be like, "What? You like took his socks off?" I'm like, "Yeah, I took his socks off."
Yeah, I took his socks off. Oh my god.
Oh, yeah. Let's just be super basic today and be like, "Hey, universe, what's in store for us? What's coming?"
Yes.
Just us. What's happening? What's coming? Because,
we've not asked that in a minute.
We've not, and I've had a very eventful day, so you won't believe what happens next.
Right.
We have the King of Cups.
Not inverted.
We have the Emperor. And we have the Seven of Cups inverted.
Okay.
One inverted card. But that's okay. Okay. King of Cups. King of Cups. He is a fair, good warrior and a good friend. He wants what he wants. Me too. I mean, the same.
Same. Who doesn't?
He makes everything better for everyone he comes in contact with. Yay! Make it better for us, shall we?
Right.
Okay. And then
or maybe we're making things better.
I mean,
for people who come in contact with us.
It's true. We're basically telling everyone to get therapy and also start using the new euphemism of uncovering the feet.
That's right.
Everybody, let's do it.
Make it a thing.
It's absolutely a thing for me now. You understand that, right?
Right.
Just to see what happens next. Like, you won't believe it. Why can't I find this card? Oh, there he is. I found him.
It doesn't exist.
Let's see. The image he brings is professional and competent. Underneath the uniform, there is steel. Okay. He's got shifty eyes, but he's incredibly attentive. What? I mean, you're not wrong. He is kind of doing the, look to the...
We are shifty, just saying.
Let's see. Someone has to make the hard decision. Someone has to decide where we're going to invade here or there. Someone has to decide what to do in a crisis. Someone has to be that guy. Oh, this is the John Wayne card. I hate John Wayne, by the way. I mean, the concept is fine, but specifically
right.
John Wayne.
But as John Wayne, yeah.
He can be domineering. I always think of the Bible story about Jericho. God said, hey, go build a city over there. There's already a city there. Hang on, I'll knock it down. Right? That's the whole Old Testament, is God being a dick, by the way. Anyway. Claire's mom, I hope you're not listening to this episode.
Right.
Sorry.
I think she stopped listening a long time ago.
That's fair. With the Emperor, it is good to remember that the difference between being an effective leader or a tyrant is that when you're a leader, people don't wince while you're talking. So, okay.
That's right.
Okay. Does that mean we're going to be leaders, but we have to not be dicks? That's fair. I don't want to be a dick. And then the Seven of Cups inverted. So the Seven in Cups regular is sometimes our fantasies feel safer than reality. Sometimes it's easier to imagine what would happen if you stood up for yourself, if you had a better job, a better relationship, than actually doing the work to make these things manifest. So take this information and twist it a bit for the inverted. What if we still want the treasure but don't want to put in the effort and don't want to leave it as a fantasy? We would absolutely try an easier, sneakier way, right? Maybe we lie, pretend, or scheme to get what we want. So we're going to go tyrant and scheme. Ooh. Schemes in the future, Claire. Schemes in the future.
We're going to be scheming. Sounds like
oh, Lord. Well, that sounds like a weird, wild ride in the future, but...
it does. We're going to scheme.
I mean, I guess we're taking a page out of Trump's book. What can I say? All the schemes.
As long as we're not wearing diapers.
God, no. Pass.
We're like, no.
Although, I suddenly am remembering the oops, I crapped my pants.
That's immediately what I thought of. That is immediately what I thought of. And I was like, oh my... Because I saw somebody was like, this sounds like an SNL skit. And I'm like, because it has been.
It has been.
It already has been. Oh my gosh.
All right. What will we talk about next week? I mean, serial killers was pretty great. I'm gonna be honest. I enjoyed that.
Same.
So what's next?
Oh.
Dumb ways to die. So many dumb ways to die. Dumb ways to die.
We only had that one time.
We have only had that once. So that's fun.
Because you did the Victorian and I did the snake handling.
So be sure to join us next week as we talk dumb ways to die. That'll be fun times. But until then, you can find us in all the things and at all the places at
Brunch and Judge. Please
follow, like, comment, subscribe, and send us more topics for our wheel or any stories you'd like to cover, or you can tell us fun things. Last week's, 2 weeks ago, villains, I don't know, however many weeks ago, the villains episode, we had a comment on it from someone who is potentially related to Elizabeth Bathory, and I'm like, holy hell, that is so cool. So feel free to send us those things too. I love that. It's fascinating. Yes. And you can send all that stuff to us at
brunchandjudge@gmail.com.
So until next time, keep on brunching
and keep on judging.
Bye.
Bye.